Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to today's weekend reflections on this, the 9th of April 2023. Ramadan Kareem to all of my brothers and sisters celebrating the month of Ramadan. I'm also aware there are some Jewish and Christian friends who sometimes tune into these broadcasts. So I would like to wish them a happy Pesach and a happy Easter, which is their special time of the year as well. Today, I would like to read from this wonderful book, Rising Sun of the West by Shaykh Nurjan Mirahmadi. He's a Canadian sheikh who's very close to Sheikh Hisham and Sheikh Mohammed Adil and authorized by them and by Maulana Sheikh Nazim. And I've been reading this book that he's written. It's actually one of a number of books that the Sheikh has written in addition to his broadcasts. And I think I'll read from, let's see, page 99. 99 is a good number, actually. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Sanctify your heart and make it the house of Allah. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing your cells understand that, your nucleus has that. And now for you to understand, your heart has that. If you submit your heart, I'm going to make it like a shams, like a sun. You're going to be from Shams al-Arifin. You're going to have a heart that's like a sun, that's going to shine brighter than all of those suns. This is an imitated sun, but you have a conflict with your head because your head is trying to be the sun and you don't yet know your physiology. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us. Shaitan comes and teaches us that you should do all your thinking from your head. Whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ar-Rahman, comes and teaches, leave your head, it's worth nothing. All your thinking should be from the heart. All your concentration should be from your heart. That your heart is my house, not your head. Purify and sanctify your heart and make it my home, make it God's home. As Allah says in the Quran, purify or sanctify my house for those who perform tawaf and those who seclude themselves for devotion and bow and prostrate in prayer. Tawaf, the circumambulation of the Kaaba when people go on Hajj and Umrah. This is in Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah 2, verse 125. If you make it my home, it will be where my lights are locating. It will be a masjid for you. It will be a Kaaba for you, and every emanation will be coming from your heart. Allah says, I'll send a ruh, a soul. I'll send an authorized light to govern and to be sultan upon your heart. And with that ruh and every authority of that ruh, it will come with all the amr, all the orders of Allah, because they are ulul amr, people of the command. So if you purify and sanctify your heart, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it his home. Allah will make your heart your real masjid, because a masjid is a building that's outside of yourself. If you're depending upon a building that is outside of yourself, what do you do when there is no masjid? What do you do when you are in your home or in the shopping center or out and about doing your work? Your real masjid is your heart. Now I'm not knocking masjids, by the way. Obviously, they're important as a place of sanctity and prayer and for communities to come together. I'm not knocking masjids at all. My point, and the Sheikh's point here, is if you only have this external building and your heart is not being sanctified, your heart is not being purified, you're not preparing your heart for the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be within your heart, for the reflection of Allah's light to be within your heart, for the spiritual connection with powerful souls like Awliya Allah and the prophets to connect with your heart. If you are not preparing it for that, doesn't matter whether you're sitting in a masjid or not. If, on the other hand, you are doing that work, if you are purifying your heart, it doesn't matter whether you're sitting in a masjid or not. Because you could be sitting under a tree. You can make your salah under a tree. Or, in your home. And you'll connect with Allah. Now, masjids are important for other reasons. And this, again, I reiterate, I'm not knocking masjids, because masjids are a part of communal prayer. They're very important on the community level. And many facilities are provided in masjids. But it's the importance of the purification of the heart, which the Shaykh is highlighting here. And then he says that when you do that, then also Allah sends a command, and you become one of the people of command. One of the people they're authorized. And the angels stand guard upon their heart for whatever command is coming. They know that heart is Qalb al-Mu'min Baytullah, which means that it's the heart of a believer, and it's the house of Allah. Qalb al-Mu'min Baytul Rab. The heart of the believer is the house of Allah. This is in a hadith Qudsi. Qalb al-Mu'min Baytul Rab. The heart of the believer is the house of the Lord. They know this heart is the heart of a mu'min, a believer, in which Allah has sent a representative of that soul, and the angels stand command upon that heart to carry out the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the heart has to be in submission. Itabba. The only way is to turn everything off and to submit. Obviously, submit to Allah, submit to divine authority, not to anything else. The Shaykh continues, the head is our biggest enemy that doubts and questions everything. But the conflict that everybody has is between their head and their heart. Everything they debate is from their head. Every question they have is from the head. Every doubt they have is from the head. Al-tafakkur, people of contemplation, because they want to explain the reality, to see the grandeur of this reality. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a gift in store, that don't waste your life for nothing, that seek those realities. Then they begin to teach. This is the secret of your binary code. Shut your head off and open your heart. Your whole path is based on that struggle. That is the great fight. That is the great jihad, the struggle that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is describing. That is how to battle against yourself. That is how to put within your heart that I have to reach to those realities, and that everything about me has to be shut off, especially my head, because the head doubts and questions everything, and yet the head knows nothing. You were trained in school to use your head and to ignore your heart. You trained in school to have the worst of manners and to have doubt and continuously question everyone as if that was a sign of good character when it is not of good character. Everything about the reality is the way of tafakur and contemplation, that I have to sit with myself. I have to struggle against myself. I have to understand these realities and this light that's coming into my heart. And that, my biggest enemy, is going to be my head. And as soon as you hear yourself whispering against the sheikh, against the teaching, against the way, against the center, then you know Shaitan is already battling against you. So let's unpack this a little bit. Because some people can read this and misunderstand what the sheikh is saying here. The sheikh is not, from my understanding, suggesting that we don't question things that we should question within this world, within life, question things which are wrong. Question when it comes to when we're doing some science, when we're doing something on that field, yes, questioning is part of it. The sheikh is pointing out here about understanding the limitations of your mind and understanding that you also have other capacity within your heart. Thinking is within the mind, but we also have inspiration which comes through the heart. Thinking is done through the mind, but we have certain things which we feel and understand in the heart. A lot of education systems today do not highlight the importance of feeling and understanding with the heart. They get people to shut down that side of themselves. Also, this is tied to the creative side of people as well. And it's generally suppressed within education systems, within societies. And also within the heart, what do you feel? You feel love. You feel love for your parents, love for your grandparents, love for your sheikhs, love for the prophets, love for Allah, love for your country. This love is a very powerful thing that can defeat evil. It's the right kind of love. If this love is shut down or suppressed, and people just think without connection with the heart that has this love, people can do some really twisted things. Because our thinking is also meant to be tempered with the love from our heart. Otherwise, you can think something like, if there's an overpopulation problem in a certain place, well, let's just get rid of some of the people. Logically, but that's cold. That's not understanding the value of human life. That's not loving. That's not appreciating people. And this is one of the concerns with AI, because if AI is put in charge of some of these systems in future, and AI is not feeding with a heart, and doesn't have some kind of limits placed upon its responsibilities and how it's empowered within future systems, AI might think something very logical like that, but it is cold logic. It is logic which is not considering ethics, morality. It's a cold logic. And some people, never mind AI, some human beings have that cold logic. You look at Hitler during the Second World War. He had a problem with Jews, with Slavs, with homosexuals, with Freemasons, with Jehovah's Witnesses. What did he do? He put about a final solution to just send them to death camps where they will be murdered. Over 6 million Jews alone murdered just because they were Jews. Yet to Hitler and the people who were listening to him, who were around him, who supported him, who were part of this process and not trying to stand or undermine it in any way because they understood it was wrong, those people who supported it, they thought it was logical and reasonable to murder 6 million Jews and millions of Roma, as well as homosexuals, as well as Freemasons, as well as communists, as well as anybody. They thought it was reasonable to do that. They thought it was the logical thing to do. They thought it was good for their country because it was cold mind logic. It wasn't processed by the heart. Because as soon as any processing from the heart took place, you have to realize these are human beings. These are my brothers and sisters in humanity. Even when the heart is involved, if it is a cat or a dog or a hedgehog, you can't be cruel to it because it's a living creature. It has life. It feels pain. It hurts. It suffers. This is connected with what the Shaykh is talking about here. Shaitan attacks the head first through your ears. The heart is something that can be fortified with zikr, with the remembrance of Allah, with lights, with practices, because the angels are standing guard to protect it. So Shaitan, the Satan or devil, is not going to come first for your heart. He easily comes straight at your head because your head is open and not something which is guarded. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put too many orifices, too many openings upon the head. You have two big ears that just love to hear everything. What's about what? People nosy, People like gossip. Your business is not to look anywhere. Look at your shoes. Look at your feet. Try to understand with the ears that this shaitan is going on all these ears. The warning is in dangerous days of difficulty and darkness. There are so many shayateen, devils, so many shayateen everywhere that the believer is under tremendous difficulty because as soon as they move, there are thousands of them just whispering and whispering. Wa alaikum salam. If you're going to take your life by your head and entertain every whisper that's coming and think, I'm so clever today. Yeah, I found what they were doing wrong. I found out what he's doing wrong. I found out what in his teaching is wrong. Shaitan is playing with you. And he understood now he has a position of an imam, a spiritual leader with you, because he says, hey, this guy listens to me and doesn't even have to be in the bathroom. Because we said before, he gives, with the Shaykh Nurjan said, he gives the biggest khutbah when you're sitting on the toilet. Tariqa people know this. On the internet, they will come back and say, Sheikh, I never heard this before, because this is the abode that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put for shaitan. His house is the toilet. As soon as you enter into the bathroom, don't you realize he's giving you a khutbah, teaching you Quran, teaching you hadith, teaching you haqiq. From where? He sits up in there in the corner. Oh, servant of mine, let me start teaching you. Now, devils come in many different forms. Aside from the spirit devils, shaitan, that many Muslims believe, today you've got so many human devils who are teaching bad things. They could be on the internet, could be on TV, could be just in the streets, could be gossip, could be all manner of things. And this connects with our egos. Within each of us, we have a devil. It's our ego. And that devil likes to listen to the other devils to see which one's cleverer. I mean, people, they imagine, like you see in the picture here, like that kind of a devil that's, like this. But I mean, the devil's not really is look like that. The devil can look like you and me. The devil can be like your favorite pop star or celebrity. The devil can come in many forms. But the point here is to be careful what you listen to. Be careful what you see, what you're looking at. And also understand when you are looking at whatever you're looking at or you're hearing, what it is, what's the inspiration behind it, where it's coming from. Is this a good thing? Is this a neutral thing? Is this an evil thing? If it's not beneficial, then why spend time with it? Try to spend your time in pursuits which are valuable towards you, which will benefit you, which will benefit your family, which will benefit your community, which may be positive benefit for others. So don't look at the pictures and think, like this. If this is not something which resonates with you, understand the point that's being made. We're being bombarded all the time with sounds, things that we're being told, with things that we're seeing, bombarded all the time with things which can confuse us, which can cause us to be misguided, cause us to get angry when we don't need to get angry, cause us to be upset when it's none of our business. And why are we getting upset when it's not even any of our business? Mind your own business, let other people do. And this actually is where the Sheikh's previous thing about questioning, we should question what we're listening to. We should question what we're looking at. There is a place for questioning, but question the right things. Question things which are going to be harmful to you. Don't question things which are beneficial and which are obviously beneficial when you just sit down and contemplate calmly. It's like some people, you will tell them about some healthy food, the benefits which is in it, and if you eat this or you reduce your meat intake, I'm not saying you become vegetarian or vegan, but just reduce it, eat something a bit more healthy, watch the kind of numbers and stuff which is in food, and it's just over people's heads. They'll argue with you instead, why they can get around this rule or eat something else which is not something which is good for them. They'll make a debate on this and stick up for doing what's not good for them. I even had a conversation with someone many years ago who was an Afghan asylum seeker, and he was debating with me why, you can drink beer within Islam because it's not the same as the alcohol which is mentioned in the Quran. I mean, this is what could I say? I just told him that's not what I understand. And, don't tell me something's good for me when I know it's bad for me. But he really put effort into it. In the end, you just have to agree to disagree with some people, But there's no point getting into a long argument once I shared my point. The Shaykh continues, be vigilant of your eyes and ears. They are windows and doors to the soul. We even say this in English. Your eyes are the window of your soul. This means that the head is completely under shaitanic attack. So then, our whole way is to be vigilant. When whispering comes, block it. The minute it comes, block it. Make salawat, praisings on Prophet Sallallahu. Spit and make istaghfar that you're under satanic attack. Don't lend your ears and keep lending it and go and go and go and become filled with shak and doubt. It means everything about the believer is under difficulty. If he didn't get you by the ears, he's going to bring you by the eyes. Because when these eyes see what they are not supposed to see, you're going to have difficulty within your heart because your layers of protection moved. And they're able now to fire all their arrows into the heart. My colleague, Mohammed Abbasi, he writes about Sun Tzu's Art of War, and you can see in this is strategy at play here. Shaitan uses strategy. Evil forces use strategy. So you have to have your strategies to protect yourselves against them. Otherwise, you'll always fall short and always get caught up in things which you don't want. The Shaykh continues, it means the believer is vigilant with what he hears. He doesn't talk to people who continuously want to say negative and bad things about them, about their way, about their life, about their path, about their choices. This is not a free door for everybody to come through. These ears are the doors to your soul. These eyes are windows to your soul. These were not for public consumption. It's not a place you go to the mall and tell everybody, tell me all your bad stuff. You would be dead under this attack. Assalamu alaikum. Nice to meet you. I hope you're well. So, be careful, especially we have a word for this now in English as well. Even people, they talk about people as being toxic. This, when I was younger, people didn't even use this word and describe people as being toxic. But some people really are toxic. You can't spend any company with them because they will just find something to argue about, something to criticize you, something to attack you, something to criticize your spiritual practices, to criticize your family, and why would you hang around with such people? Yet people do it all the time. I mean, if they're a work colleague, if there's someone you have to work with, you have to, then just try and minimize it as much as possible. Try not to get into arguments with them. Try to read salawat quietly to yourself, silently, or zikr. Breathe Allah, breathe out Hu. Don't let what they're saying affect you. The Shaykh says, so it means then the believer is vigilant against satanic attack and is guarding themselves. They have a vigilance against everything that my ears, I have to be careful about what they're hearing. especially those whom you know best. They have a secret door to you. They have access to you. They come right into your space and they begin to say things into your ear to bring darkness into your heart, to bring a shack and to bring a doubt into the heart. Yeah, this is something, be very careful actually. If you're on a spiritual path, if you follow spiritual practices, what you tend to find is people in your family, loved ones, people you care about, sometimes they will start to act a bit strange and they will start saying things to you which are very negative. It's something to be careful of. It's something I've experienced in my own life. People I love, people I care about. And the thing is, these are people, they're not practicing themselves any spiritual practices that can protect them or to help. It won't necessarily, because none of our spiritual practices are that perfect, but it won't completely protect necessarily, but it will reduce it. It'll make it more manageable. If people aren't doing any of those practices, then they're unprotected and they're listening to gossips. They're listening to other things. They're making comparisons, materialistic comparisons between, people that are super wealthy or super successful. And then they come and say something to you which is very negative, very derogatory sometimes, because they're under a spell of negativity in that moment. And this is a very real problem that we all have to deal with once we enter onto this way. As soon as you start becoming more spiritual, even with people that are not Muslims, who follow like a Buddhist path or a Christian path or a Jewish path, and they become more spiritual, they start to be attacked by the shaitan and evil forces. Because you don't have to, they don't have to do anything for the person who's already misguided, who's already acting like a devil themselves. But when you are working on yourself and you're striving to be a better person, you're striving to transcend this negativity and these bad things, that's when you get attacked. And this is also why our spiritual practices are important, because they are a protection for us. That's why meditation especially is so important, because it helps to calm you down, it helps to neutralize what the shaitan's doing so you don't get fired up. Anger is the shaitan's greatest friend, because when you become angry, then you just do exactly what shaitan wants. You fall right into his trap, hook, line, and sinker. He's got you then. Paksani in Indonesia, it's funny when people say they hate the devil. Well, Jesus Salam actually said to love your enemies. Yes, we shouldn't actually hate the devil. We shouldn't hate Shaitan. Shaitan is also a creation and a servant of Allah. But we should be aware of the attacks that come against us. We should protect ourselves from that. It doesn't mean that we become a hater ourselves, because if we do that, then what's the difference between us and our enemies? We, don't let it change us, but at the same time, we have to protect ourselves. We have to have our own strategies as to how to deal with these stressful and negative and toxic situations. Learn from holy companions to hear and obey. Samina wa Atena. It means this path is about understanding the head, but fortifying the heart. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's light is going to come into the heart. Only when the believer can enter into a state that the Prophet ﷺ brought his companions to, Samina wa Atena, We heard, Ya Rasulullah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we obey. Samina wa atayna gufranaka rabbana wa alaikum masih. We hear and we obey. We seek your forgiveness, our Lord, and to you is the end of all journeys. Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah 2, Ayah 285. Why the Prophet ﷺ was always stretching that limit, doing things that were beyond belief, to go back and see the companions. And what Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq said, Ya Sayyidi, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. If the Prophet ﷺ said it, that's it. It's complete for us. We are the people who we heard and we obeyed, which means we follow. They learned such a level of love and respect and reverence for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They sealed their ears from every negativity, and their ears were only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. With their training, they understood that these eyes are but a deception, and they took a path that they kept their eyes on their feet. Don't be busy with left or right or what someone else is doing or has or whatever. You just worry about where your feet are taking you in this life. You look at where your feet are taking you. Am I walking myself to my success in dunya too, and my success in akhirah? Or am I walking with my feet into a big trap that's going to destroy me? Look where your feet are walking, whether physically or metaphysically. Look where you're walking. Look where you're going. Don't look what other people are doing. They should be looking at their feet. You look at your feet. You look at your hands. You look at your actions. Monitor your thoughts. You have a limited number of breaths. Use them in worship. If you're able to train your ears and your eyes, then you begin to realize your whole life is based on breath. Now, some nice Christian doctor comes. Now, some nice Chinese doctor comes and they described, oh, these people are running. Do you think this is good for your health? Running, running, and running. They said, look, I believe you only have so many breaths and so many beats Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has destined for your heart. Where are you running to? You're not going to get more beats and you're not going to get more breaths, but you are exhausting your breaths very fast. There were no Awliya Allah who were jogging. There were no pious people who were running around the block doing all sorts of ridiculous things. They understood they only have a certain amount of breaths. You better conserve them. They were able to hold their breath in their zikr, and they understood that the heart only has so many beats. It's an engine that has only a certain amount of life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to it. Use it in ibadah and worshipness. Use it to achieve your proximity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When they understood that breath, then all the tariqah's spiritual paths are based on the breath, the vigilance of the breath. That as this breath is coming in, Ya Rabbi, in worshipness, and as the breath is going out in worshipness, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants from your ears, from your eyes, and from your breath, then He begins to inspire upon your tongue. Subhana Rabbika, Rabbal Izzati Amma Yasifun, wa salam ala mursalin, walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, bi khamati Muhammad Mustafa, wa bi siri Surat al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, Siratal Mustaqim, Siratal Ladhina an'amta alayhim, Ghayril Maghdubi alayhim wa lad-dallin. Amin. But the last point there about the breaths, I mean, it doesn't mean don't do exercises, but at the same time, think about what you're doing. You know, in Indonesia, a lot of the kiai and sheikhs actually teach martial arts. They practice and teach martial arts, which again is about fitness. But there's also, it's a multiple purpose behind it. It both keeps you healthy and also learns you how to control your body better, and also teaches you how to defend yourself should the need arise. Gives you self-defense. So it's multi-purpose. It's just, it's not to say don't have exercise, because I don't think that is the right approach either. And it's also not the approach of Shaykh Muhammad Adil, who he goes on lots of long walks, which are also exercise. But just be aware of how you're going about it and think about it. Don't just I will be back inshallah tomorrow if I can. Like I did say, my schedule is a little bit awkward over the past few weeks, and it will be again this coming week up until not this Monday but the following Monday. After that I should be back to normal. But I'll try to do it tomorrow if I can. And I wish you all the very best. If you're in the UK, have a very good evening. And wherever you are in the world, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May the peace and blessings of God be with you all.